Tonight, all eyes are on a former residential school in Williams Lake, British Columbia.
Especially people who are active in their addictions or having some health issues or just struggling or really in survival mode.
The impending closure of a Whitehorse hotel reveals a housing crisis.
Ownership. I think that's what it all boils down to.
And not everyone is celebrating on Australia Day. Good evening, welcome to APTN National News. I'm Dennis Ward. We begin in British Columbia, where the Williams Lake First Nation just released its initial report on their findings of potential unmarked graves on the former St. Joseph's Mission Residential School. The institution in Williams Lake, BC operated from 1891 until 1981 by using ground-penetrating radar and only searching a 14-hectare area out of a 480-hectare search site. They have uncovered 93 potential graves. Out of that 93, 43 may be associated with a historic cemetery. However, the remaining 50 are not associated with the cemetery. We will have more on this breaking news story for you on tomorrow's show. And if you need, the National Indian Residential School Crisis Line is available for survivors or others who might need support. That number is 1-866-925-4419. Some election news now, and Ghislaine Picard has officially won another term as Regional Chief of the Assembly of First Nations, Quebec-Labrador. And despite a well-known challenger, he did it in a cakewalk, with 74% to 26% for the former Mohawks of Gunnesatage Grand Chief Serge Simon. This shouldn't come as a total surprise, though. Picard has held the position for the last 10 terms. Moving forward, he says he'll keep the pressure on Quebec to adopt Indigenous legislation. To Ontario now, and it shouldn't come as a huge surprise, but another new study finds overcrowding and poor air quality in First Nations homes in northwestern Ontario, and it's causing devastating health effects in young children. APTN's Fraser Needham reports.
Seeing the mold, seeing the conditions of the houses, just having that lived experience. When you walk into a home in January, February, when there's no proper ventilation, you could feel the moisture in the air.
Mike McKay has the Anishinaabe Aski Nation housing portfolio, and he's talking about the poor quality of homes they regularly see in their communities. A new study finds children under 1 living in NAN communities are almost twice as likely to be admitted to hospital for respiratory illness compared to kids in other parts of Ontario. This can then lead to longer-term illnesses such as pneumonia, bronchitis, and asthma. Dr. Tom Kovesi is one of the co-authors of the report published in the January edition of the Canadian Medical Association Journal. He says overcrowding combined with poor ventilation means many First Nations homes are a hotspot for virus transmission.
But when you have so little ventilation and so much overcrowding, if you sneeze, you're going to form this sort of virus-laden cloud in the room that everyone else is going to breathe in. And so when we're seeing communities like Bearskin Lake, where nearly half of the people in that community have COVID, it's no surprise. This is the kind of conditions that's going to cause that.
Various surveys have found 24% of housing in First Nations communities is overcrowded, compared to 6% elsewhere in Canada. And McKay says when it comes to housing, First Nations simply need more of it.
When we work with our communities or go into communities, their number one priority is housing, the lack of housing, and we need to build more houses to address that.
First Nations housing concerns often went unaddressed by governments both past and present. But Kovesi says he's optimistic the scientific basis of the report will make a difference.
Governments listen to numbers. And I think it's one thing to say, have a survey where we say, well, we've got concerns about the housing quality. It's another thing to give governments hard data. And I'm really hoping that once governments see the kind of data that we've been providing, they're then going to act upon it.
A total of 98 First Nations children in 4 communities in the Sioux Lookout region participated in the survey. Fraser Needham, APTN National News, Ottawa.
Ontario Solicitor General is calling for an investigation into the Chief and Deputy Chief of the Thunder Bay Police Service, as well as the administration of the city's Police Services Board. The investigation, which would be handled by Ontario's police watchdog, comes on the heels of complaints filed by a member of the board and members of the service. Chantel Bryson is a Thunder Bay lawyer representing a number of people who have filed human rights complaints against the police chief and the board. And she joins us now from Thunder Bay. Chantel, thanks for being with us. A lot has happened since the press conference last Thursday. First off, we have the Ontario Solicitor General requesting the Ontario Civilian Police Commission investigate the Thunder Bay Police Chief, Deputy Chief, as well as the administration of the Thunder Bay Police Service. How significant is that?
Well, it's something we've been seeking, at least for Member Morisseau's complaints. So Member Morisseau's on the Police Services Board since last spring. So in December 2021, we renewed our request to the Solicitor General, calling it, as we did in our presser, a crisis in the police service and the Police Services Board, because the board had done nothing with all these allegations, not investigated, not suggested investigating, taken no interim steps regarding the leadership and ongoing threats and reprisals. And so we were very pleased this past Saturday to receive a letter directly from the Solicitor General for Ontario that she had called on the Ontario Civilian Police Commission to investigate the chief, the deputy chief. And when they say the administration of the service, that means the board. They've been directed to investigate both the leadership of the service and the board. And so, and her letter was very clear to me that it was in direct response to our request for an investigation. Now, I've heard today that the board is putting out a statement under Mayor Bill Morrow saying it was due to him. That's simply not true. I have the correspondence. It was directly in response to our request.
Well, both,
I'm not aware, actually, I'm sorry, I'll just say I'm not aware, actually, of any board request to OCPC to investigate any of the allegations in the complaints.
Both the board through Mayor Morrow and just recently the police chief as well have put out statements saying that they do welcome it and say that they had been reaching out for an investigation. You spoke about a lot of things.
I would find that hard to believe because the Police Association as well has stated publicly that they've been seeking an investigation and didn't get one. So I find that very difficult to believe that the leadership of the service was seeking one or the board. Yeah.
So the Police Association you mentioned there, which represents 350 officers and civilians, also calling for significant action. We mentioned Police Chief Silly Hoth has put out a number of statements in recent days. Yes. On the weekend, one that basically amounted to her saying she's not going anywhere. So what happens next?
Right. Well, unlike the Human Rights Tribunal process can give individual remedies to complainants for human dignity damages, pure losses of income, overtime opportunities, and impose human rights remedies. The Civilian Police Commission investigates for misconduct under the Police Services Act, and they have the authority to remove the chief, the deputy chief, any officer, and the board. So, you know, despite the clear alignment, pact, what have you, between the leadership of the service and the board members aside from Member Morris. So we expect both of those processes to go forward, and we would certainly be looking for, and have made it clear, we're looking for some interim leadership relief remedies to protect the complainants, and the potential of a criminal investigation into information we've referred on to the Attorney General's office, which has been referred to the OPP, to assess for need of investigation. And we feel some oversight needs to be imposed both in the service and at the board level while these matters progress, because in our view there's been retaliation and reprisals by the leadership of the service on officer complainants and witnesses to Member Morrisseau's complaint, and we filed a reprisal complaint against the individual members of the board, including the mayor and Chair Christian Oliver, for what we feel was clear reprisal on their part for Member Morrisseau filing a complaint. So that's what we're looking for in the next steps.
Chantal, we're super over time here, but you mentioned interim leadership reliefs. Just quickly, are we talking about an interim chief, an interim board?
That's what we feel is required to allow for fair investigations by OCPC and to allow for fair adjudication of the allegations through the HRTO and any negotiations that may happen before then. Although we haven't been invited for one constructive civil sit-down with the board regarding any of this at this time.
Chantal, we'll have to leave there. Lots to talk about for sure. We'll be paying attention. Appreciate you taking some time for us.
Okay. Thanks, Janice. Bye.
And you can find much more on the happenings with the Thunder Bay Police Service and its board over on our website, aptnnews.ca. Time to step aside for a quick break. Still to come, a popular tourism destination with a new clientele.
And here, they're going a little bit deeper, but they're not telling me what I have to do, they're just showing me.
Welcome back. A hotel that's fallen into disrepair in Whitehorse has been temporarily shut down by the city's fire department. Now around 50 people living at the hotel have been left with nowhere to go. Here's Sarah Connors with that story.
With affordable housing in short supply, around 50 people live at the Chilkoot Trail Inn in Whitehorse. But now they're scrambling to find housing after being served eviction notices. The Whitehorse Fire Department says it's responded to 21 events at the inn in 12 years, including 4 fires. After a fire investigation last fall, the building's owners were ordered to remedy several code violations. While attempting to repair the building, conditions worsened and the fire department issued a closure order on January 11th.
For the residents of the Chilkoot, this is a crisis, and so
Kate Meechan is the executive director for Safe at Home, an organization that provides supports for vulnerable Yukoners in need of housing. She says hotels like the Chilkoot aren't ideal housing solutions, but with an already strained housing market, the closure of the inn will negatively impact residents.
Hotels and motels for some years now have performed a pretty crucial function and have kind of moved from being a stopgap for people to looked at as more permanent solutions.
She's also concerned the closure will affect residents who are struggling with other issues,
especially people who are active in their addictions or having some health issues or just struggling or really in survival mode.
The closure order comes into full effect on February 11th. It will remain in effect until repairs are completed. Sarah Connors, APTN National News, Whitehorse.
Still in the north, a new on-the-land healing camp is making a big impact in the lives of those experiencing homelessness in Yellowknife. Our reporter Charlotte Moore Jacobs explains the approach and why it's been so successful.
I know that elders always talk about it, to go on the land, to heal ourselves, to be with the Witsina.
This popular tourism destination in the Northwest Territories is welcoming new guests, those experiencing homelessness and battling addictions. Aurora Village, located 20 minutes outside of Yellowknife, is usually full of international tourists, but that changed because of COVID. So the Dene Nation and local Indigenous NGOs partnered to make the village into an on-the-land healing camp. The project has $1.3 million in federal funding and was slated to run December and January, but has been extended to March and possibly longer.
We've all known each other on the streets.
Louis Nutalalulak has been here since December 21st.
A good friend of mine, he used to be on the streets long ago, and now he's worked on himself and he's running his own business now, and he kept asking me if I'm ready to come out here and make something of myself. So I finally said yes, I'm ready, and it's probably the best thing I've ever done for my life.
The camp focuses on connection through culture, engaging clients in activities they may not have done in years, like snaring rabbits, pulling nets, and even dog sledding.
Like, we all have different jobs out here, and we're all like having self-worth again, self-respect again.
Ben Wright came to the camp with a single change of clothes.
I went to treatment a few times, but I was always missing something. Like, they never went deep enough. And here, they're going a little bit deeper, but they're not telling me what I have to do. They're just showing me.
He's connecting with elders like Wilbert Menico, who knows what it's like to be homeless because he was once homeless himself.
They need that love and care. Just to be with them, it's amazing. To visit them, to sit in their tent and talk with them.
Also unique to the camp, Medical and other Pathfinders deliver a managed alcohol program.
Now you see that it's stretched. It's not every 3 hours. It's maybe 6 hours, and some are 7 hours. And a few of them, my friends, that today, they don't drink. What they're saying that is that we don't want that no more. We want to be on the land, to be reconnected with ourselves.
While there's currently 17 clients at the camp, there's nearly 350 people underhoused in Yellowknife, individuals who maybe could benefit from this model of healing.
This is a place to really connect with Niwitsina and get grounded.
Charlotte Mort Jacobs, APTN National News, Yellowknife.
What a great story. Time to step aside for one more quick break. Still to come, limited edition hockey sticks are causing a stir.
I hadn't realized how big and what the reaction was going to be to the sticks.
Looking back, time now for our photo of the day. And this beautiful bird regularly visits our viewer Deborah Pender in Kelowna, British Columbia. Deborah told us it first appeared last year and now makes nightly visits and has even allowed Deborah to pet it. We have more amazing animal photos coming up this week, so tune in tomorrow to see our next photo of the day. And if you have a great photo, send that photo to share@aptn.ca. Now let's take a look at tomorrow's weather forecast. Starting on the east coast, -2 in Halifax, +4 with showers in St. John's. 26 below in Kuujjuaq, 1 degree cooler in Nain. -17 in Montreal, 25 below for Chibougamau. Snow and -9 in Sault Ste. Marie, sunny and 17 below in North Bay. Snow and 10 below in Thunder Bay, -9 with flurries in Sault Lookout. -9 and flurries in God's Lake, 7 below with snow in Norway House. -1 and snow in Winnipeg, 0 and snow in Dauphin. Snow and -10 for Saskatoon, -5 with flurries in Regina. 0 and snow in Meadow Lake, 12 below with snow in La Ronge. In northern Alberta, 0 with snow in Fort McMurray and High Level. +2 with snow for Edmonton, Lethbridge and Medicine Hat. 7 above in Vancouver and Victoria. -1 in Prince George, 3 below in Dease Lake. -3 for Old Crow, 6 below in Whitehorse. -23 with snow in Yellowknife, 0 in Norman Wells. -16 in Sax Harbor, 6 below with snow in Paulatuck. -28 for Baker Lake, 26 below in Whale Cove. -30 for Arctic Bay, 36 below in Joe Haven. In December, we told you the story of Cree artist Jason Carter. He hand-painted 150 hockey sticks to be given out at the World Junior Hockey Championships. But the COVID pandemic canceled the event just as it began. APTN's Chris Stewart finds out what happened to those hockey sticks.
Jason Carter was asked by Hockey Canada to paint 155 hockey sticks to be given out to dignitaries and players of the game at the World Junior Hockey Championships in Edmonton and Red Deer. The sticks show a bear under the northern lights with mountains in the background. Just 4 days into the 2-week international tournament, rising Omicron COVID-19 cases in players forced the cancellation of the event. Jason Carter says the news was disappointing. He says many sticks were gifted, and Hockey Canada has the remaining sticks. Organizers say they are looking into possibly rescheduling the event for this summer.
You know, the hope is that I would create some more sticks to kind of get the amount that they would need, and it would go forward again. But that's the hope, anyways.
He says the reaction to his sticks caught him off guard.
I hadn't realized how big and what the reaction was going to be to the sticks. The reaction was phenomenal. People, I heard I'm still getting emails from people asking me where these sticks are, and if they can get one of these sticks.
Carter says the demand may make him produce new sticks for the public.
And I've been toying with the idea of doing a new series of sticks, because I've had so many people call and ask, and so I've been looking into ordering some sticks and then doing some custom sticks.
Chris Stewart, APTN National News, Edmonton.
If Hockey Canada is looking, I know a few people here might enjoy those sticks. New episode of Face to Face airs tonight right after the news. Our guest is an advocate for all things Indigenous, whether it's food security or voting rights. Tanya Cameron is not only pointing out the inequalities, she's working to address them.
It's the power that we have in ourselves. And I learned at a young age at a youth conference, actually, some woman said, don't ever sit back in your community and think, oh, someone should be doing this, someone should be doing that. Sit back and say, could I do this? Could that be something I can do? And I do that. I practice that right from the hop. So I'm always glad to help.
You can catch our interview with Tanya here right after the news. Well, it's a holiday in the land down under, but not for Indigenous people. Australia Day commemorates January 26, 1788, when the first British ship landed. Colonization was violent and brutal for the continent's original people. So for them, this is an annual day of mourning, and it started with a sunrise ceremony. Performances and speeches went on throughout the day. Ziggy Ramo is a hip-hop artist and activist. He says it's time to recognize the harm.
Ownership. I think that's what it all boils down to. We weren't animals, we weren't occupying, we were owning. And I want self-determination and ownership moving forward. And I also think that needs to happen with the wider Australia, ownership of the truth. We know it, and it's time to own it. Like, we don't need to sugarcoat the fact that a genocide has happened and continued to happen. It's successful, and we have to own that.
Looked like quite a ceremony. Thanks to our friends at National Indigenous Television in Australia for that story. That's all the time we have for your APTN National News for this Tuesday. For news anytime, visit our website, aptnnews.ca. And be sure to tune in tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern Time as we put pizza in focus. Sounds delicious. I'm Dennis Ward. Thanks for being with us. Stick around. Face to Face is up next. Have a great night.